Hey there, everybody. I'm Logan Alec. I'm a CPA. I own Choice Tax Relief. Not only do we help folks who have filed all the returns and they know exactly how much they owe, but we also help folks who haven't filed their taxes in several years discreetly get back into compliance and into the best possible resolution available to them with the IRS. And it's those folks I'm talking to today. That second group there, folks who may have not filed all the required tax returns, because today's topic is IRS Notice CP59. This is an important notice. The IRS changed the look of it this year, beginning in 2024. Interesting thing about this notice is it doesn't have the taxpayer's social security number on it, interestingly enough. It's a very short notice. Your name would appear here and your address. This was a notice issued to one of our clients, so that's why I redacted the client's name here, and it went to me as the client's POA or power of attorney. Basically, it's informing the taxpayer that they need to file their tax return for such and such year. If you haven't filed multiple years of tax returns the IRS is looking for, you would get multiple CP59s. Folks who have not filed required returns are a target of the IRS right now. I've talked about this before. The IRS announcement earlier this year about their initiative to go after 125,000 high income folks who haven't filed their returns. Now, the stuff that they announce, right, is when the focus is on high income taxpayers, right? Because that's what sounds good. Oh, we're going after the wealthy. We're making sure that the rich pay their fair share. They're not going to go announce their initiatives about the millions of CP59s they're sending to non-high income taxpayers, right? The middle class and lower class. So, don't think that these are the only CP59s that they're going to be sending out to these high income folks. But for this initiative alone with the high income folks, 20,000 to 40,000 CP59 notices are anticipated to mail each week, beginning with filers in the highest income categories. This is not a notice to be ignored, folks. I'm going to go through the notice here in a bit, but I do want to say that this is the important line right here. IRS actions escalate if tax returns aren't filed. People receiving these letters should take immediate action to avoid additional follow-up notices, higher penalties, as well as increasingly stronger enforcement measures. Okay, once you get the CP59 notice, that is the IRS putting you on notice that this tax return that you did not file is in their sights, and that if you do not file this tax return, they will file one for you. This is called a substitute for return, an SFR. I've covered SFRs on my channel in several videos. You can watch my video covering the basics of IRS substitute returns right here, but you don't want an SFR. On an SFR, the IRS doesn't give you any business deductions, right? So if you get 1099 to the 1099 say, oh, I made $300,000, but you had all these business expenses against that, right? Let's say you're operating on a 20% profit margin in your business, right? So you might have only made 60, right? But the 1099s say 300K. On those SFRs, they're going to try to tax you on the 300K. They're not going to give any credit for all your business expenses, right? The wages you paid your staff, right? Your rent for your office location. They're not going to give you any of that credit, right? Any of those deductions. They're not going to give you any itemized deductions. On Schedule A, they're just going to assume the standard deduction for you. They're going to assume your single filing status. If they think you're married, they're gonna prepare it under married filing separately filing status. They're not going to give you credit for any dependents or anything like that. It can be very, very nasty. These SFRs can really overstate your returns, but that is the path you're going down if you don't respond to this notice promptly. And how do you respond to it? Simply do what it says. File your required tax returns, right? What you need to do immediately: file your 2020 tax return. Now, this is silly because this notice was mailed on May 27, 2024, but e-file has already closed for 2020. You can't e-file 2020 tax returns anymore, right? Only the last 3 years could be e-filed. So right now, as I'm recording this video in early June 2024, you can only e-file right now 2023, 2022, and 2021 tax returns. You can't file 2020 anymore. So this is super confusing. I don't know why they would put this on there. You think it'd be easy for them to say, okay, if it's a 2020 notices and before for CP59, don't put the file electronically paragraph. If it's 2021 and future, you can put the file electronically paragraph. Basically, your only option for a 2020 tax return right now is to file by mail. Okay, so it has to be paper file. And we handle both e-file and paper file returns for our clients. And sometimes this happens, right? They said, did we make a mistake? If you don't need to file, you can complete this form, 15103 1040 return delinquency. But I'm going to tell you, the vast majority, if you receive this CP59, you probably have a filing requirement for the year. I think I can think of maybe 2 cases in my career where the appropriate measure was to file this form. Okay. The vast majority of people receiving these CP59 notices have a filing requirement, but they simply did not file. Sometimes they think they filed and they're surprised to find out they didn't file. A common thing that we see is people, get the CP59 and they're like, oh, I know I filed that return. My accountant e-filed that return for me. But did the IRS issue you an IP PIN? Because if they issued you an IP PIN and your return was e-filed without that IP PIN, then it would be rejected, right? And it wouldn't appear as filed in the IRS records. Okay, so there's all these different little things. If we don't hear from you, here's what they're saying. You may lose your claim to a refund or certain credits. That's right. So if you're owed a refund for the year, well, for 2020, the refund statute expiration date has already passed if you didn't get an extension. That passed in mid-May of 2024. If you did get an extension for 2020, then you still have until October 15th of this year, 2024, to get that refund. So there is a time limit on claiming refunds. Here's where they talk about SFRs without saying SFR. We may determine your tax for you. Right? So what are they going to do? They're going to look at all the 1099s they got in your name, W-2s, K-1s, whatever, all those information returns, and basically assume that you're taxed on the gross amount. That's what they're going to do. You may become subject to backup withholding, right? If you received interest or dividend income, you didn't file or pay all taxes due, right? That's, when you fill out your W-9 like an independent contractor, there's that box to check. Are you subject to backup withholding? Owing back taxes, and we had this issue with a client recently, I think. I don't know, it was someone's question I was answering, where they thought being subject to backup withholding just means you owe back taxes. No, that's a different thing. Okay. Most people who owe back taxes are not subject to backup withholding. Okay, it's a different concept. The IRS will notify you if you are subject to backup withholding. Then, when you earn interest at the bank, it would automatically be withheld. If you earn dividends, from your investment account, IRS is going to take a chunk before the cash hits your account or it gets reinvested in the security. Then there's kind of the standard language about how to make a payment. Not really going to get into that because it's pretty straightforward. You go to irs.gov/payments to make a payment. Right, where to find more information. Here's some basic stuff about the form online. So, folks, it's not complicated. What should you do if you get a CP59? It's not complicated, folks. File the tax return the IRS is demanding. Do this as quickly as possible before the IRS puts that year for you into the automated substitute for return ASFR program. Okay? It will save you time if you get out ahead of this and file this return as soon as possible. Now, I've talked at length about how to actually do this. You have your old tax return years, you need to file. Maybe you don't have all the records for those years. It's okay. I got a video for you. Check it out. Upper left-hand corner of the screen, how to file back tax returns, avoid penalties, and get your life back on track. I have some other videos about unfiled returns, my whole playlist at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. If you want a free consultation about your unfiled tax returns, if you received a CP59, reach out to us at Choice Tax Relief, 866-8000-TAX, or fill out the form at choicetaxrelief.com, and we will reach out to you. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.